after a cargo ship erupts in flames off Qatar's coastline, is one of Trump's closest Gulf allies now rushing to Iran's top diplomat to plead for calm before Hormuz chaos spirals further? As a damaged vessel burns almost on Doha's doorstep, what does it signal that Qatar is on the phone to Mujtaba Khamenei's foreign minister instead of simply echoing Trump's hardline messages? While Trump pushes Gulf partners to send warships and amplify his warnings to Tehran, are some of those same allies quietly using their channels to urge restraint instead? When Doha tells Tehran not to turn Hormuz into a pressure card, is Qatar simply protecting its own tankers, or warning that weaponizing the strait could blow back on every economy in the region? As news breaks of a cargo ship catching fire near Qatari waters after an apparent projectile strike, Trump's key Middle East ally Qatar jumps on an urgent call with Iran's leadership about the crisis. On May 10th, Qatar's Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani spoke directly with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, underscoring how central Tehran has become to any de-escalation around Hormuz. Qatari and Iranian readouts say the conversation focused on regional security and the mounting tensions around the Strait of Hormuz, where both war and trade routes now collide. Doha warned that any move to close Hormuz altogether would only deepen the regional crisis, amplifying economic pain and security risks for Gulf states that depend on open sea lanes. Qatar's foreign ministry stressed that freedom of navigation in Gulf waters does not accept compromise, hinting that using shipping as leverage crosses a line even for states sympathetic to Iran. Qatar Foreign Ministry said, and I quote, "Freedom of navigation is a well-established principle that does not accept compromise, and that closing the Strait of Hormuz or using it as a pressure card would only lead to deepening the crisis and exposing the vital interests of the region's countries to danger." Unquote. This warning came just hours after commercial vessel caught fire near Qatari waters, an incident that brought the risks of the Hormuz showdown uncomfortably close to Doha's own shores. During the call, Qatar and Iran also discussed ongoing diplomatic efforts aimed at de-escalating the wider regional conflict, including ways to reduce attacks on shipping and Gulf infrastructure. These talks take place as U.S.-Iran negotiations remain stalled after fresh exchanges of fire, raising the stakes for Gulf mediators trying to keep Hormuz from becoming a long-term pressure card. A bulk carrier was reportedly struck by an unknown projectile on May 10th, prompting a fresh warning from the UK Maritime Trade Operations Agency. The incident triggered a small fire on board, according to the UK MTO statement, though all crew were reported safe. The vessel was hit while sailing northeast of Doha, Qatar, with UK MTO advisories in similar incidents placing the strike zone in waters off Qatar. UK Maritime Trade Operations Organisation said, and I quote, "UK MTO has received a report of an incident 23 nm northeast of Doha, Qatar. The master of a bulk carrier reports being hit by an unknown projectile. There was a small fire that has been extinguished. There are no casualties. There is no reported environmental impact. Authorities are investigating. Vessels are advised to transit with caution and report any suspicious activity to UK MTO." Unquote. The incident came amid heightened regional tensions following fresh IRGC warnings about retaliation in Gulf waters. Iran's IRGC has issued a sharp warning against any attacks on the nation's oil tankers or commercial vessels, framing them as a red line in the ongoing standoff with the United States. Tehran threatened that any fresh strike on Iranian shipping would trigger a heavy attack on U.S. military bases and allied warships operating in the region. The IRGC Aerospace Force added that its missiles and drones have already locked onto designated targets, according to a statement carried by Press TV. Brigadier General Saeed Majid Musavi, a senior IRGC commander, said Iranian forces are now waiting for the final order to fire, emphasizing that the weapons are pre-targeted and ready. The senior commander described the U.S. military buildup around the Gulf as a direct provocation against Iran, arguing that it is designed to coerce rather than stabilize the region. Iran said the warning sends a crystal-clear message that Tehran will not tolerate any further aggression against its maritime or energy infrastructure. The threat followed a series of confrontations near the port of Jask after U.S. forces targeted Iranian ships and tankers engaged in regional transit. Iran claimed that the IRGC Navy responded with a precise and overwhelming counter-operation, intended to reverse the impact of the U.S. strikes. The alleged response reportedly included anti-ship ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and high-explosive drones deployed against tracked vessels and support assets. Iranian media claimed that the strikes forced U.S. warships to retreat from the area in disarray, portraying the engagement as a tactical setback for Washington. Tehran also accused Washington of threatening regional maritime security and key shipping lanes, arguing that U.S. operations create the main source of instability in the Gulf. The IRGC added that only sea corridors authorized by Iran are considered safe for transit through the Strait of Hormuz, insisting that vessels must comply with Tehran's controls. Iran warned that any foreign force making a hostile move in the designated maritime zone would face immediate confrontation, leaving no room for ambiguity in its stance. Meanwhile, Donald Trump responded with a series of cryptic posts on Truth Social, hinting at future military steps and raising fears that the exchange could trigger further escalation. Iran's new threats came as Trump said he might restart Project Freedom in the Strait of Hormuz, suggesting a return to his plan to guide stranded ships through the waterway.
We may go back to Project Freedom if things don't happen, but should it be Project Freedom Plus, meaning Project Freedom Plus other?
Donald Trump has announced the launch of Project Freedom, a U.S.-led initiative aimed at helping dozens of merchant ships stranded in and around the Strait of Hormuz, starting from May 4th. Trump described the operation as a humanitarian gesture, intended to assist neutral country vessels and their crews caught in the war zone, many of which are running low on supplies while waiting for safe passage. However, U.S. officials later clarified to outlets such as the Wall Street Journal that Project Freedom would not involve direct naval escorts in the way his initial remarks implied. Instead, the White House outlined the creation of a maritime coordination cell that will identify and share safe routes through the strait, clear of mines and high-risk areas, while coordinating with commercial shipping lines and allied navies. This signals a more limited, advisory role for the U.S. military than the image of warships physically shepherding tankers through the choke point that Trump's announcement initially suggested. Subsequently, Trump announced he was halting Project Freedom just 36 hours after its launch, citing progress in negotiations and pressure from regional allies. As President Donald Trump publicly pushed for peace negotiations with Iran, U.S. military forces opened fire on an Iran-flagged tanker in the Gulf of Oman. The United States said the vessel was attempting to reach an Iranian port in violation of the ongoing maritime blockade in the region. U.S. Central Command confirmed the incident in an official statement released on May 6, detailing the military confrontation at sea. According to CENTCOM, a U.S. fighter jet fired several rounds at the unloaded Iranian-flagged tanker, ultimately disabling the vessel during the operation. In a move that's sending shockwaves through diplomatic channels, Tehran's bold new military claims are aggressively pushing the already fragile ceasefire agreement between the United States and Iran right to the very brink of complete and irreversible collapse. Straight from the front lines, Iran's army has publicly claimed it carried out a precise and successful targeting operation against 3 heavily armed U.S. destroyers amid a tense and shadowy overnight raid deep in the volatile waters of the Strait of Hormuz. According to official statements from the Iranian army, this high-stakes operation stretched on for a grueling nearly 68 minutes right through the pitch-black early hours of May 9th, turning the Gulf into a battlefield of unrelenting chaos. Tehran has revealed that its elite revolutionary forces unleashed a devastating salvo of 8 advanced NOR anti-ship cruise missiles, perfectly coordinated with a swarm of 24 deadly Araghchi suicide drones, in what they describe as a flawless assault on enemy targets. Top Iranian officials are now boldly claiming that at least 1 powerful missile pierced through defenses while 3 agile Araghchi drones slammed directly into critical American naval targets, marking what they call a major tactical victory. The provocative Iranian statement went even further, alleging that a massive and uncontrollable fire erupted aboard several U.S. vessels in the immediate aftermath of the blistering attack, potentially crippling their operational capabilities. In stark contrast, U.S. Central Command previously stated with firm confidence that while American destroyers did come under fierce and sustained attack from Iranian forces, they expertly maneuvered and defended themselves without a single projectile actually striking their hulls. Eyewitness reports and intelligence leaks have specifically identified the targeted warships as the formidable USS Truxtun, the battle-hardened USS Mason, and the agile USS Rafael Peralta, all actively operating in the high-tension waters of the Persian Gulf. Washington has confirmed that U.S. forces wasted no time in responding with a series of precise and calculated self-defense strikes launched directly against the incoming barrage of Iranian missile threats to neutralize the danger. This explosive incident unfolded right in the heart of continuing fierce disputes over vital shipping access routes and the controversial U.S. naval blockades that have strangled trade flows and escalated tensions across the entire Middle East. Even now, the Strait of Hormuz stands as one of the world's most strategically vital oil transit choke points, through which a massive portion of global energy supplies flow daily, making any disruption a potential catastrophe for the world economy.